All right, welcome back. So at this point, we have learned about what the sine ratio is, and now we're going to learn how we can use the sine ratio to find some side lengths. Now, we've already learned about tangent, and I want to clarify how can you tell what to use, sine or tangent, and we're going to use cosine in our next lesson. So how do we know what to use? So we're going to learn this word called SohCahToa. SohCahToa. So this word will help us find whether we should use sine, cosine, or tangent. Okay, so what this word does for us is it tells us that sine is opposite leg over hypotenuse. Okay, so I'm abbreviating here. Sine is opposite leg over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent leg over hypotenuse. Okay, and that's what we'll actually learn in our next lesson. And tangent, which we learned in our previous lesson, is opposite leg over adjacent leg. Okay, so we need to learn how to spell this word, SohCahToa, so that we can actually use each individual letter to decide whether we're going to use sine, cosine, or tangent. So in this case, we're looking at a basketball court here. It's 94 feet long, and if I go corner to corner, there's a 62-degree angle right here. And what we want to know is what is the approximate distance that we would walk from this corner to this corner. Okay, so here's my angle, and the numbers I have are across the triangle. That is the opposite leg. And this x is on the hypotenuse of the triangle. Opposite leg and hypotenuse is sine. So we've got sine 62 degrees, and I'm going to put that over 1 so I can make a proportion. So sine 62 is to 1 as the opposite is to the hypotenuse. So opposite is 94 feet and the hypotenuse is x. Now when I have a variable down here, we're going to use one of the properties of proportions that we've learned, that we can switch things diagonally. So I have x over 1 equals 94 over sine 62 degrees. And then I can just divide. 94 divided by sine 62 degrees. And right here I want you to notice that it says DEG, that's degrees. Our calculator must be in degree mode. If it's not in degrees mode, we go to mode and we change it to degrees. Okay, so we've got 94 divided by sine 62, and that is 106.46. So the walk diagonally across the gym floor here is 106.46 feet. Okay, so here's a roller coaster. You're at the top of a roller coaster, 100 feet above the ground. The angle of depression, so that means you've got a horizontal line and then an angle that opens downward. So we've got this angle of depression of 44 degrees. About how far do you go down the hill? So how many feet of track is this approximately? Okay, so across the triangle we have 100 feet. That is the opposite leg. X here is the hypotenuse. There's our right angle right here. X is the hypotenuse. So opposite leg and hypotenuse, that means we're going to use sine. Sine 44 degrees is to 1, as the opposite leg is to the hypotenuse. Once again, we have x in the denominator, so we are going to switch these and divide. So x is to 1, as 100 is to sine 44 degrees. So in our calculator, we do 100 divided by sine 44, and that is 143.96 feet. 143.96 feet. Now, what can I do if I do not have a calculator that has sine, cosine, and tangent? Well, I could go online There's online calculators that have sine, cosine, tangent, free online calculators. Or I could go to this chart right here and find sine 44 is 0.6947. 0.6947. So 100 divided by 0.6947 is 143.95 feet. It's very close to what we had here. The one that we used actually used the sine button. That's a little more precise, but this is a very good approximation. So I can use that chart if I do not have a calculator to do this for me. Okay, so now what if on this roller coaster, the angle of depression, instead of 44 degrees, is 72 degrees? Okay, it's going to be a much steeper drop, which means the roller coaster is going to be more fun. But how much track are we going to go down? So how far will this ride down the hill be? Okay, so now we've got a 72 here, so it's sine 72 degrees is to 1, as the opposite is to the hypotenuse. Once again, with the variable in the denominator, we will switch and divide, so x is to 1, as 100 is to sine 72 degrees. So 100 divided by sine 72 is 105.15. Okay, so our trip down the hill is 105.15 feet. Okay, and our last problem that we'll do in this video, find the value of x. So we're actually solving something very similar to what we did with this roller coaster, except this time the x and the 100 are switched. So the x now is the opposite leg, and 100 is the hypotenuse. Okay, opposite leg and hypotenuse still means sine, so sine of 72 degrees is to 1, as the opposite leg, x, is to the hypotenuse, 100. Now notice the difference here. In the previous problem, we had x in the denominator, so we switched and divided. In this case, I've got a number in the denominator, so I'm just going to do cross products. 1 times x is x, and our other cross product is 100 times sine 72 degrees. So this time I will type in 100 times sine 72 degrees and get 95.11. So x is 95.11, and there's no units on this, so I can't really say feet, inches, or whatever. So that is my final answer, 95.11.